What are Coltrane patterns? Coltrane patterns are 4-note fragments or melodies that you can use in your solo. And they're pretty amazing, mainly because they're very practical. They're easy to play, and for each chord that you want to improvise over, there are several Coltrane patterns that you can use. And they're also quite easy to insert into lines, which makes them great building blocks for jazz solos. So that's why I want to check them out. My name is Jens Larsen, learn jazz, make music. There are two basic types of Coltrane patterns, one that's major and one that's minor. It's really pretty simple. I'm going to use C major as a scale to demonstrate all of this. That's just also an easy scale to do that with. So if we take the major one first from C, that will be C, D, E, and G. So 1, 2, 3, 5. And the minor one in this scale could be from A minor. So that would be 1, flat 3, 4, and 5. And of course, you can create more different variations than just these two, and you could take them through the scale and do all sorts of things. But these two are the most common ones and also the most flexible ones. So that's what I'm going to focus on. Now we need to figure out which Coltrane patterns that we can use over a chord. So let's just take a C major 7 chord, and we're of course using the C major scale. And really this is going to depend on just knowing your major scale and knowing especially the diatonic triads. That's going to make everything pretty easy. So we have the C major scale. There are two types of patterns. We have a major and a minor Coltrane pattern. And a part of a major pattern is a major triad. So that means that we can potentially make a Coltrane pattern for each major triad in the scale. So that means that we have one, of course, for C. We also have one for F and one for G. In the same way, we can use the minor triads, and we have 3 minor triads. We have A minor, D minor, and E minor. And we can make a Coltrane pattern for each of those as well. So A minor, D minor, and E minor. So now we have 6 Coltrane patterns within the scale, and we need to look at which ones we want to use on our C major 7. Now in this case, it's actually pretty easy because we kind of can use all of them except the ones that have an F in there. We don't really want to have an F as a part of the structure that we really want to emphasize. That's probably going to give us a huge chance that we're playing something that doesn't actually fit with the chord. So I'm just going to take those out. That's the D minor and the F major. And then we're left with C major and G major and A minor and E minor. So now we can start checking out some of the different ways that we can use these to make some really great sounding lines. Combining the patterns with arpeggios is a great way to get started incorporating this into your playing and getting it into your vocabulary. And as you will see in the examples, then Coltrane patterns are actually a really great alternative for arpeggios because they are a little bit more compact, the range is smaller, and they're easier to play. So here on the C major 7, I'm first using a Coltrane pattern from G, so then a C major 7 arpeggio, and then we get a chromatic enclosure, and then I'm going into another descending Coltrane pattern, which is an E minor Coltrane pattern on the C major 7. Another example of how you can combine Coltrane patterns and arpeggios that's a little bit less obvious about it sounds like this. So here you have first an E minor triad, then a passing note, and then you get an A minor Coltrane pattern, again on the C major 7, so. And then another chromatic figure, skipping up to the root, and then a descending E minor Coltrane pattern. But besides using them as a sort of arpeggio substitute, you can also choose to play different melodies with the Coltrane patterns and then string different Coltrane patterns together. On my other video on Coltrane patterns, then occasionally I will get an angry comment because people seem to think that I'm trying to sum up the legacy of Coltrane in 4-note patterns, which of course I'm not, and that's kind of absurd, but yeah, that's apparently what people think. It is true that the name Coltrane Patterns, which is the name that I was given when I was taught about these, is not really the best description in any way. So if you have a better name, or if you're angry, that's also always fun, then leave a comment. Until now, the melodies that I played with the Coltrane Patterns were just ascending and descending versions, so. But of course, these 4 notes, there are a lot more melodies than that, and it really pays off to just explore that a little bit so that you check out that you can play just to show you a few. And you can of course get into all sorts of combinations and make calculations on that. But I think the most important thing is that you check out some melodies that you like and then try to use them in some lines. Something like this. The first part of this example is just a C major Coltrane pattern. So these notes, but I'm playing another melody with it. Then a descending G major Coltrane pattern. And then a C major 7 arpeggio. And then from here we get an A minor, so this Coltrane pattern, but I'm playing this melody. The melody that I'm using on the C major Coltrane pattern is actually often used or associated with pentatonic scales, but it's also one that Rosenwinkel uses quite a lot. There is a 2-5-1 lick in one of the videos that I did on his solo on I Remember April, where he's using this exact pattern. You can check that out, there's a link in the description. Another way of using Coltrane patterns that I really like a lot is one that I came across, I think, in Pat Martino's playing, and this is on a 2-5-1 in G major, so A minor, D7 to G. Then on the A minor chord, I'm using an E major Coltrane pattern, which really isn't in that scale, so it kind of works as either a melodic minor sound or as a sort of chromatic enclosure to the notes of the A minor triad. And that sounds like this. So what I'm using here is first that Coltrane pattern from E, then going to an A minor triad, and then on the D7 altered I'm using essentially just an A flat major triad to go back down to G major. While I was preparing this video, then I actually tried to figure out which Pat Martino solo it was that I had this phrase from, because I'm really connecting to him and I'm pretty sure that I got it from him as well, but I can't find the solo, which is really annoying. So if you know a solo where he plays this, then do let me know about it, because I would kind of like to know, and I'm really convinced that I got it from him. So in the meantime, I've been getting the video ready to be edited, and I've been listening to a lot of my favorite Pat Martino albums, and I still can't find that phrase, and that's kind of annoying. I know he plays it in Blue Bossa, but that's actually not one of the solos that I checked out, so that doesn't really count. So if you have other places where he's playing this phrase, let me know about it. Compact melodies like this are of course also ideal if you want to move stuff around and shift out of the key, and that's what I'm doing in this example. So on a C major 7, I'm first just playing the C major 7 arpeggio, and then I'm playing a descending E minor Coltrane pattern and shifting that down a half step, so we get the E flat minor Coltrane pattern that is of course a side slip, it's really not related to C major 7, and then just resolving that back into the C major 7. And because these melodies are really easy to play, then they're also really easy to move around, and you can use that for effects like this. Another one would be to use it just as a side slip in a 2-5-1, and that would be something like this. This example is a 2-5-1 in the key of G major, and I'm using a C major Coltrane pattern on the A minor 7 chord. So first just the ascending version of that. Then I'm kind of shifting out of the key, just up a half step, kind of suggesting a B flat minor actually, and then playing the same pattern but then descending. And just shifting that back again and playing it also descending just the same way to resolve it. And then voice leading this to sort of a D7 flat 9, so, and resolving to G. Pentatonic scales are in fact related very closely to Coltrane patterns, because you could look at a Coltrane pattern as being 4 notes out of a pentatonic scale. So those two sounds are really close to each other, and a lot of the things that you do with Coltrane patterns actually sound like pentatonic scales. If you want to explore some of the jazz lines, some of the sounds in jazz that are really relying on pentatonic scales, then check out this video where I'm going over how to apply the pentatonic scale to a lot of different jazz chords and get a lot of interesting sounds.